Dolly Jacobs, one of your pastors. We've been doing a great series on conversations with our members who've been around our church as children and then adults and watching their own families grow up at First Pres. It's been a real treat to talk to John Redhead. We're going to be talking to Bob Bell later this week, as well as Molly Mullin. Bob Bell, his ancestry goes all the way back to Father Paisley, and Molly Mullin's father was Dr. Joe Mullin, who we all know as a great pulpiteer. We're also going to hear from Adelaide McIntosh, who's a fourth generation First Preser. She's in seventh grade and has some things to share about her great grandmother, who she's named for. What's been wonderful about this series is we've gotten to hear a lot about what the sanctuary means as part of our Lenten series. Surely the Lord is in this place. And for many of us, the sanctuary is a sacred space, that thin space between heaven and earth, where we can really be quiet and listen and feel God's presence. And so I hope as you hear these conversations, you'll have an opportunity to think about what makes the sanctuary such a special place for you. And also knowing that it's not just a building, it's the presence of God that helps us ground ourselves in our faith, especially in a world right now, which seems sometimes to not be as certain and secure as we need it to be. But we can always count on our faith, always count in the triune God's love for us. So I'm about to talk with Molly Mullin. Super excited about that. Molly, can't wait to start our conversation. Amazingly, you were able to find your own way as a Christian. Are there any memories from having your dad as the senior pastor that were either formative or like moments where you're like, oh, whatever, I am not going to be, a First Preser because dad is so like, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that growing up. I mean, I know that you said, you were a teenager when you got here, but like, how did it feel to have, how did it feel to be a PK?
Very interesting to be a PK. Oddly enough, at the church in New York City, they did a panel one night for, members to come to. And it was a panel of PKs. We were all different preachers' kids who were members there. So that was like main time I was like really interviewed about that experience. It's hard to say because I just grew up with dad as a minister. He had a big church in Louisville that I grew up in, and that was all my early years.
Mm-hmm.
I think I always loved it. I didn't shy from it, although it does put you in the spotlight in an interesting way, especially as a teenager. Yeah. For a long time, when I was in college for 3 years, I worked at the Janus Theaters, which was all torn down now. But
I've heard about that.
So lots of times families would call me because they knew I was Joe Mullin's daughter, and that I would know at the movie. So they would say, "Now, is this okay for my child to see?" So that I was sort of tapped as that.
Oh my goodness. So, no pressure.
No, none.
Yeah. And you've offered to us, and I know we have, and some pictures, but you've stayed tethered to the church. You've stayed tethered to First Pres, and have pictures from weddings and baptisms and things like that. Tell me more about what draws you back every time, Molly. What draws you as an adult and your love of First Pres and the sanctuary and organized religion in general?
Yes, I would say it's the activities that you participate in, and then the people that you meet through doing that, and the feelings just kind of continue to circulate. I taught Sunday school. I was a confirmation leader for many years for the 8th graders. Did the Bible school in the tent making bread. I was an usher for years. I was a lay reader for 1 year. Went on the women's retreats, went to Montreat. I think it's just you get from it what you put in to some extent. So that has tethered me. Well, I love to worship in the sanctuary. I like informal worship too, because I really like to sing from the words up on the screen rather than everybody's buried in the hymn book. Um, I love to be in the sanctuary, to look up at the rose window. It's all inspiring. One of my biggest thrills was when the sanctuary was being renovated, and I climbed up scaffolding all the way up to the top
Did you
and
really?
got to look straight out at the rose window. You're always looking up and it's way up high. I was just looking straight at it and touch those little animal figures that are sticking out of the timbers. So that was really amazing.
That's
Um,
cool. Yeah.
yeah. For me, the sanctuary with the opportunity to worship, to pray, to be silent, to sing, um, I envision it as one of those thin places where you can be very close to God.
Yeah, Thin Spaces is a beautiful way to capture it. I know you and I have kind of connected about that. So Thin
Hmm.
Spaces is a Celtic term, although Richard Rohr would say that, the Irish Catholics or the Irish Presbyterians haven't, captured it just enough. But you and I would both say it's a place where we feel God and know that God is
Hmm.
there. So when you had to go to church as a teenager and a PK, did you have a certain pew that was your favorite pew, or did your parents say,
Yeah.
this is important? We, are there at a certain time or place?
We always had a certain pew, whatever church we were in, and it was always on the preaching side,
Oh,
to have a
okay.
seat of
Pulpit
that. Yeah,
side.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
preaching side. um, about midway back, about
Mhm,
halfway back.
mhm.
So we were never the front row or the back row. I was kind of there in the middle. And that's, when Dad retired in 1988, he continued to go and he sat there with us, so that was interesting to have him in the congregation instead of in the pulpit.
Did he ever?
But he,
And
yeah,
this is not about your dad, but like, did he ever like have his little commentary about the preacher in the pulpit?
what?
You don't have to say
Only,
anything.
I
Like,
know,
I always
well,
wonder, like, as a preaching
right.
pastor, you're like, I wouldn't have said it that way, or I wouldn't have done it that way.
His biggest thing was that the sermon needed to be 20 minutes or a little less. And if it began to go over, he would get a little antsy in the pew. And he liked for somebody to end with a up note,
Hmm.
instead of he would worry if somebody just trailed off and got quiet. So those are the main comments he would make about other preachers. But for the most part, he was always very moved
He
and
was good
he,
about, yeah.
yeah, very good. And he sang beautifully. So it was really fun to sing from, hymns next to him. That was always
Aw,
good.
tell me a little bit about how you, as you have grown and been a part of many Presbyterian churches and have celebrated your faith as part of recognizing, like, okay, there's something good about organized religion. Okay, there's something about, like, this helps me be a Christian. Why do you stay? Because, I mean, we're talking about surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. And
Hmm.
you're still with us, Molly. You're still an active member. Um, Tell me and our congregation a little bit about why do you still come? What keeps you tethered to First Pres today? How are you growing as a Christian?
Well, I feel as if the opportunities to grow through worship, of course, but through a lot of the teaching and study and small groups that are offered are a way to really feel like you're still learning, still exploring, still connecting, and also the community outreach that is so much more powerful with a group such as the Hot Dish and Hope and
Mm-hmm.
drive through collections and things like that. You just can't accomplish that on your own. You need to be part of a community, part of a faith group, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I'm so glad you're still with us and still an active part of our faith community, and have loved all the pictures you've sent of different moments, milestones, for you and for your family. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, like not all of our members and families have those moments where, they know that while it's a building,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things we've been lifting up is God is in this physical place. God is here among us. And
Right.
so thank you for sharing that with us. That's been
Mm.
wonderful.
Well, sure.
If you had any kind of words of inspiration or words of messages for some of our, I would say, more not younger Christians, but newer Christians who are
Mm.
just now kind of really digging in and understanding, yeah, I want to be grounded in a place. What might those words be? And again, they don't have to be deep, but I'm just throwing that out there. Is there something in particular you would say?
Well, I would say that I think, like I said before, I would say that the more you extend yourself and just step out of a comfort zone and join something or go on an event, do something that's related to the church, you'll find your place. There's so many ways to connect for all the different age groups. Um I think that is powerful and is well worth the effort and endeavor.
Hmm. Thank you so much, Molly, and thank you for your time. And I'm so grateful. I love that you and I have connected on that phrase about the thin spaces. That's been
Mm-hmm.
really powerful for me as well as hearing
Oh,
you say
good.
it. Like I feel that when I'm in a sanctuary as a pastor or
Mm.
just talking to someone, being present there and all the
Mm-hmm.
wonderful ways that you've shared memories and the ways you're still growing. Thank you for the time you've given us today. And
Of
can't
course.
wait to see you in person soon.
Yes, indeed. It will happen.
It will. It will.
Yeah.
Well, this is Dolly signing off. And thank you, Molly Mullin, for your time. And hope you'll tune in again, First Pres, as we continue to learn about our members who are growing in our space together. Bye, Molly.
Bye.
Thank you.